r/AskWomen. Ananoza 123,999 says. Women diagnosed with AD, what led to a diagnosis? What were your experiences and struggles prior to diagnosis? What was the process of being diagnosed? What finally led to being diagnosed? Thank you. Doodlerborb says. I seek the diagnosis. I have several siblings that have it. I made a list of all my symptoms, and we discussed that, and I was asked about school. I was diagnosed with AD, but it's AD that is apparently not a used term anymore, and it's just a less hyperactive version of AD. My symptoms: hyperfixations, bad short-term memory, losing keys, debt card etc. to the point of needing new ones, trouble focusing, and several other things. Look up online symptoms, and write down the ones you experience. Stars Eternal says. I went to a therapy clinic for other reasons, and part of the intake form included an AD self-assessment. I found myself answering very often on pretty much the entire thing, and my therapist was like, "Sue, we should talk about this." Mag says. I had a series of issues throughout my life, starting at 3 as a gifted child. Issues of maladaptive coping, eating disorders, then it was anxiety, depression, narcolepsy was once discussed. In general, the perception of me was chaotic, careless, didn't give a frick. The bulk of my problems were explained away with various diagnoses, or just really the idea that I was a poorly functioning person who didn't care about anyone or anything. But my memory was the thing that finally brought it all together to the AD diagnosis. I'd just had a baby, and up until that point I lived up to the image everyone projected onto me. I pretended I didn't care. But it wasn't funny or cute at all anymore. I was sad, depressed and disappointed in myself when I'd forget appointments, lose important things and die. Worried constantly I'd leave the oven on, or heaven forbid leave my baby in the car. I went to my doctor to discuss. I broke down and recall telling her how much I really do care. I'm doing my best at all times. Most of the time I feel I'm giving twice as much as everyone else, and the outcome is still not up to scratch. I give my all, and the response is always how I'm so careless. Ended up seeing a psychiatrist shortly after, who pieced together all my diagnosis through the years. Everything ended up being AD related. That made so much sense, because no matter how much I engaged in treatments or stuck with medication, it never made even the smallest difference. It was all AD. Now I'm receiving the right treatment, life is a lot brighter. Local Suggestion 2807 says. Genetics, inattentiveness, distractibility, and struggling in school. Subject Advantage 661 says. I'm a smart person and always got good grades in high school, but procrastination for assignments and homework was real. The same went for university. I knew I could do well in classes and the assignments weren't hard. I just didn't have the willpower to push myself into actually setting out a plan, etc. After HS and before uni I made many impulsive decisions. Piercings, tattoos, buying a pet guinea pig plus many other things. It wasn't until I was in my second year of uni and working that a coworker asked if I had AD because of the constant stimming and movements and other things I'd done. This is what led me to get diagnosed, plus the fact of autism running in the family. My mum was supportive of it, and once I did get diagnosed, felt immense guilt of me having to go through childhood and whatnot with no diagnosis, and how she didn't know and should've tried harder to find the cause of certain issues. Not her fault obviously, especially as AD diagnosis back then was more focused on the typical interruptive and hyperactive type, mainly boys. Stone Opera says. I was always a smart kid, did pretty well in school, but I always struggled. I felt different from my peers. I always felt like I was struggling more, but I stayed quiet about it and just muddled my way through university and then grad school. One day I saw a meme. It's of Kevin from The Office spilling his chili on the floor, and it just say how I feel every day as a woman with AD. I identified with that meme so hard, it made me look further into AD. I grew up in a household where therapy psychiatry was looked down upon, so it didn't even occur to me that I might actually be neurodivergent. r/AskWomen. Uniqlo Owl says, in a romantic relationship, what's the difference between giving your partner the benefit of doubt vs naivety? Acceptable weather 23 says, 20 years. Aromatic musician 75 says, naivety. My last partner constantly cheated on me, showed no respect towards me, made me do everything for the household, etc. I stayed for 5 years. Benefit of the doubt. My current partner recently stopped talking to me randomly a week ago. We share live locations on Snapchat. They didn't open my Snap for days, but I saw them online constantly. Their Snap score was increasing by 100 plus a day. I saw they were at a hotel for a few hours. My previous partner, this would have been so obvious what is happening. I decided that my current partner gave me no signs of being upset in our relationship. Actually, they gave me a ton of signs of being very happy in the relationship. I had recently sent them a Christmas care package, and they sent me so many pictures using and enjoying the stuff. That was the day before the no contact. They have been cheated on before, and they do not seem like the person who would cheat. Turns out they were stressed from the holidays. They were feeling self-harm thoughts and just needed to be alone to keep their mind busy. They watched their comfort TV show from start to finish in a few days. Spent time on a video game doing a huge project. Then when they felt up to it, they went out to shop/do Christmas stuff. My mind was aware that cheating was a possibility, but I kept my level-headed thinking that it was okay. It was stressful for me, but I'm very glad they did what they needed to do for their mental health. I reached out last night when I saw them at their friend's house where they usually drink. I only reached out because I was also drunk and just said, "I'm drunk. I miss you." They instantly opened it and started talking to me again, like they were before. They told me how sorry they were and what was going on. I didn't find out it was self-harm related until a few hours into our conversations. Christmas is apparently a very hard time for them. This experience revealed a lot of my own insecurities. It also showed me that I need to find that line of naivety and benefit of the doubt. Over the Hillhead says, there is always a fine line balance, we choose our own. Les Mail says, benefit of the doubt, you know something's up, you are suspicious, maybe something already happened in the past. But you are not sure, and you elect to give them the benefit of the doubt for the time being. It is a conscious choice that you make. Naive, you're completely oblivious to anything going on. It's not a choice that you make, you just don't see anything going on. Dat12 Cork says, trust. I see Profit 4508 says, benefit of doubt, them reacting in a situation new to both of you in a way that you don't necessarily approve of. This is when there is no past history of such a behavior and you also discuss the reaction and how it looked for you, your doubts, etc. Naivety, them having a proven history of problematic behaviors, repeating the errors you disapproved of, violating your boundaries outright, and you defending them with the Beauty and the Beast adage, I can make them see true love. Flimsy Situation 506 says, listen to what your partner says to you about things like themselves, their behavior, their beliefs, don't ignore it. When people tell you who they are, believe them, and don't try to ignore or excuse it, because you love them, until later on find out they are exactly who they told you they were. Serene Brutality says, bot, cautiously moving forward, while observing the warning signs. Naivety, pretending there are no warning signs. r/AskWomen. Moon Garden 6 says, how do you stop thinking about a person from the past? Accomplished Yam 69 says, I feel like if you were meant to forget them, you would. Newgasity 5 says, I mean, it's difficult to do that, especially when that said person has caused harm in your life. I don't constantly think about those people like I did at the beginning, but once in a while it pops up. Strawbsplitix says, get a new person. Time Forever 26 says, meditation practice, that's what I do, and remind myself that, if they wanted to they would. Jamicham says, I don't think you can. People don't and happen to us. HM5219 says, I'm actually going through this right now, and it's hard. 4 years ago, I was recently out of a relationship that didn't end well, and, weeks after, met the guy who now feels like the one that got away. We talked/dated for 6 months and things just didn't work out with how not ready I was to jump into a new relationship. I also pushed him away, and he ended up meeting someone else. Not that I blamed him for that, but it definitely hurt. It hurt knowing I had lost the best connection I've ever had. Following that, I think I tried to date/find someone, just to push my feelings for that someone else down. That obviously made me get involved with guys I wouldn't usually date, and most of those didn't work out. After 2 years of being single, I found my now boyfriend, whom I love and have built a life with, but I won't lie and say that the memory of the one that got away doesn't linger often. We ran into each other recently, and that inexplicable connection/chemistry is still very much there. It was nice to see how much we've both grown and changed over the last 4 years too. However, I joke that the universe must hate me because there's always something that doesn't allow us to be on the same page. This time, it's his desire to have many kids and mine to not have any at all. So once again, I feel like I'm processing the loss of an us all over, and it's hard. But maybe we are just meant to care/cheer for one another from afar and wish each other the best as we navigate through life on separate. Pandantadi says, rumination. I struggled with this for a long time over a relationship that ended suddenly. There's a bunch of videos on it and why we do it. Once I figured out why I ruminated, it seemed to fade quickly after that. It had much less to do with the person and more to do with some unresolved issues and attachment traumas. Great listener says, I removed myself from the environment where there was a possibility of seeing them. Then I focused on the people that were presently with me, the ones who I chose to keep. After a while I realized I didn't care enough about those from the past to even check their socials. Zesticlosed Truth 9999 says, by taking some time to heal, then moving on to someone much better. If you picture yourself finding someone a million times better than the partner/friend/person on your mind right now, chances are you'll motivate yourself to finally let go. Or, at the very least, you'll start to realize that you can do loads better. Meavly says, I think of him shooting the ball for 3 points and he missed 5 times, walking down the stairs, missed a step and hit his butt, eating spaghetti so messy there's orange stains around his mouth, wearing pink shirt and shiny pants, mistakenly used hair removing cream as shampoo, approaching a woman at a bar and she gave him a disgusted look, sneezing and his snot turns into a balloon, waving and saying hello to a kid and the kid gives him, trying to balance, but runs instead like in a fast treadmill because the ice is too slippery. Then he falls on his butt, reaching out on something he dropped on the floor, but his butt crack appears behind. PSS on a cat, but the cat runs away. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.